Yeah, hi. I'd like to talk to you about the future tense and future conditionals. In fact, in English, we don't really have a future tense. We have a future time. Let me explain that. In French, you have a real tense, j'irai. It's a very real tense. But in English, we have what we call a modal auxiliary, okay? And a modal auxiliary, if I translate this to French, talks about une mode. It's a mode, not a tense. And there are two ways to make the future in English, and the first way uses a modal auxiliary, and we use it to indicate a decision at the time of speaking or a prediction. So, for example, I will replace the word to do, does, and did with the word will when I talk about verbs and actions. And I will use the formulation will be for descriptions. So I will be happy. Here I'm not using a verb, I'm using an adjective or a noun. I will be a doctor. So I'm going to use will be, because in English I also always have to show you the difference between actions, verbs, and être, to be. So I need to add back the be. The reason I have 3 dots here is because I'm allowed to separate will be, and I can say I will not be a doctor. And finally, I can also use will be to replace the auxiliary to be when I'm talking about an action that is incomplete, like I will be talking, je serai en train de parler in the future. Okay, so I make the future using the word will and will be for decisions that I make at the time of speaking or predictions. So I will open the door. It's somebody knocked. I decide now. Decision at time of speaking. And I do it. Because the word will means j'ai un volonté. I have a will means I decide now to do something later. This is not a real verb tense. When I talk about prediction, I'm making a guess. I'm guessing at something. So I bought a lottery ticket last week, and guess what? I will win $30 million this week. I feel lucky as a prediction. It's a guess. There's no reason in the world that I should know that I will win. I don't have a cousin who works for Loto Quebec. So I'm guessing, I'm making a prediction that I will win $30 million. But like always in the past, it never happened. Who knows? It can. All right. The other way to talk about the future tense in English is to use the present tense. Just like in French, je vais aller, or je vais aller, if you're speaking Québécois, uses the present tense to talk about the future. And in English, we don't say I go. We say I am going to go. This is an expression. To be plus going to, of course, followed by an infinitive verb. I'm going to go. But this one we use only for something that was planned in advance, or if we want to make a prediction, but I have some evidence, and I'm going to explain that to you in a minute. So this case here, I have planned to give you a final exam in 3 weeks. So I will say to you, you are going to write a final exam in 3 weeks. Because I didn't just decide now, I planned to talk to you, to give you this before. You know it's a plan because it was in the plan de cours. So in English we use the expression am, is, are, going to talk about something that was planned. For prediction with evidence, let me give you an example. I look outside my window, I see the sun, and it looks nice outside, and I say, hey, it's going to be a beautiful day today. It's going to be warm. Okay? I'm predicting, I'm guessing, but the evidence is I look outside, I see the sun, I see no clouds. Okay? So those are the two reasons for using the two different forms to make the future. One, I decide while I'm talking or I'm making a guess. Two, I tell you about something that was planned before, or I'm making a prediction but I have some evidence to say that this is probably going to happen. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Here we're going to talk about future conditionals, un conditionnel in French. And a conditional basically is two actions that will happen in the future. If this is the present, past, future, action number one happens, and then action number two happens. If action number one doesn't happen, action number two does not happen either. So in English we like to say if or when, and then there's a result. So let me talk to you about this one. I think it's the same in French. So if Dad comes, we will go to McDonald's. You are babysitting 3 children. They had too much candy. You want them to be quiet. So you say to them, if Dad comes, we will go to McDonald's. We have 2 different verb tenses here. And the reason for doing it is to help us organize, tell you what happens first, what happens second. And how do we do that? We use the simple present for the first action and the future for the second action. Everybody knows that the present comes before the future. Now, there's no problem using the present here. We won't be confused thinking it's here because we have the word if or when, which tells you it hasn't happened yet. If I do it this way, it causes no problems in English when I reverse the order and I start with the future here and the present here, because you know that first Dad has to come and then 2, we will go to McDonald's. Okay, so the purpose of using this action in this order is to show you that what happens first and what happens second. All right? So this is one of 2 future conditionals that you need to know, and I'm afraid I forgot to do the other one, but let me explain the other one to you here while I'm here. I will make the change to the PowerPoint so that you can see it too, but I'm sure you understand it very easily. The other conditional is called the zero conditional, and the difference is instead of having this one in the present tense and this one in the future where this has to happen first and then something else happens, in the zero conditional we're talking about something that is always together. It's a fact. Okay, this is not a fact. But if I talk to you about rain and wet, you will know that if it rains, simple present tense, it is always, it's a fact that if it rains, it is wet, right? So in English, when we talk about something that is a fact, we use the present tense. I told you in the first meeting when I saw you that we use the present tense to talk about facts. So if it rains, present tense, it is wet, present tense, because it's impossible to have rain and it's not wet. Same thing, if it snows, it is cold. So this is called zero, when the 2 things are always the same because it's a fact. In English, I will use present tense for both. It's called the zero conditional. All right? So if I give you on the exam something that is always a fact, don't do this. Don't give me present, future. Give me present, present. All right? Thank you. Now, let's go to the next one. Unfortunately, the video doesn't play, but here is an example of the kind of exam questions that we could have. So I would say Peter 50 next Friday, and I give you 2 choices. He is or is going to be. and you have to decide which one. And I hope that you understand that you cannot use the present tense to talk about the future. So in this case, it has to be is going to be. I'm sorry about the it's just is going to be, which is not a plan, but it is a prediction with evidence. I know he's 49 now. I know Peter is old. That's evidence. And the evidence is that next Friday he is going to be, because he invited me to the birthday party. All right. In number 2, I say to you right now, oh no, I've broken the vase. Okay, that's where I keep my flowers. And now I ask you, what am I going to say, or what will I say to my wife? And then you should know that because it just happened, this is not a plan. So this is not here. I'm going to decide now, and I'm going to say, what will I say? Okay. And this one, John hasn't eaten. I just found out now, and I say to John, don't worry, I will make him a sandwich, or I'm going to make him a sandwich. And again, because it just happened and I just decided, the correct answer here will be I will make him a sandwich. In number 4, you see that we have one verb here, and I'm asking you to choose another verb here. So this is a conditional sentence. And as you can see, he will go is in the future tense. So that must mean that the first one is in the present tense, right? I can't have two futures. First he must get in, and then we will go out to dinner. Here too we have conditionals. We have arrives and will not go, are not going. This is the first part. First he arrives, and then we have to choose between will not go or are not going to the party. And this is tricky because are not going is not future tense. This is present tense. For this to be future, I would have to say are not going to go to the party. So this one is not the right answer. The only right answer here is will not go to the party. If I had are not going to go here, then maybe I would have to decide between will not or are not going. But the word unless tells you that it may happen, it may not happen. So I cannot plan this one, so I'd have to say will not go anyway. In number 10, look at those clouds is evidence, so I have to choose between prediction with evidence or just prediction, and here I have evidence, so it is going to rain because the clouds tell me that the prediction is not just a guess, I have some experience. Alright, so this is what you need to understand to be able to do the questions and answer them correctly. You need to decide between a plan or something I just decide now. When you do your quiz, you can only decide what you decide, right? So if you just decide now, you will say I will. If you planned it, you can say is going to, unless you know for sure somebody else planned it. But sometimes you don't know. You don't know if the other person planned it or not. If you don't know, then I don't care which one you choose. It doesn't matter to me. It will not be wrong. It will be wrong if it's a plan and you say will. For example, you're going to a wedding. You were invited to be the best man. You know that the best man wears a suit. So if you're telling your friends what you're going to wear, you have to say, I'm going to wear a suit to the wedding. You can't say, I will wear, because you didn't just decide now. Same thing if you are a maid of honor and you wear an ugly pink dress because the bride decided everybody was going to wear pink. Then you will say, I'm going to wear an ugly pink dress, and not I will, where. Okay? So that's what you need to know. And good luck with that. Please ask questions if you have any. And write me meows and come to my office hours. And I'll try to make a better version of this for you and repost it. In the meantime, I hope this helps. Thanks.